Welcome to my latest YouTube video from my YouTube channel, which is PWS Pro Wrestling Society. Now, there have been some misconceptions about what the content on my channel will be, and that because we have wrestling in our title, everyone assumes that it's just going to be wrestling related, which it isn't. PWS has always been about more than just WWE and TNA. We cover everything from the UFC and Bellator to the NHL, all major sports, European sports, everything with the occasional entertainment story thrown in for some seasoning. So today I'm going to really showcase that off. I'm just going to talk about a grab bag of stuff that's caught my interest. So here we go. Tonight, of course, was TNA. Now, Dixie Carter had made a video stating that there was a former world champion returning to Impact tonight. And of course, then she revealed that it was Pac-Man Jones, who you may remember infamously won the TNA Tag Team titles without actually getting hit or hitting anyone or any physical contact of any kind. Of course, with Ron the Truth Killings back, today's R-Truth back in TNA. And he was there along with another member of the Cincinnati Bengals who, that was Dixie's big get to, I'm assuming it was to piss off the fans purposely because, she's a heel now and that's what classic heels do. Which is really all Dixie. Dixie read a book about being a heel for dummies and is following it to the T. I had personally hoped that it was Jeff Jarrett, because everyone knows that Jarrett is working backstage as an agent, putting together a lot of the matches and helping with creative, along with an old WWE guy named Dave Lagana, I do believe is his last name. I always mispronounce it, but he has a lot of experience in the business, so I'm looking forward to TNA's writing for the next few months. I think it'll be a huge improvement over the Eric Bischoff-led days, which leads me to my next point with the Aces and Eights. The Aces and Eights are being killed off, according to rumors. That is because it is an Eric Bischoff project. Eric Bischoff started the Aces and Eights because, he had one good idea with the NWO and he just keeps redoing it year after year. And because Bischoff is gone, they want to finish the Aces and Eights, which is fine. The Aces and Eights should have ended a long time ago. It was getting Nexus bad at this point, which, is really saying something. When we had the core, it was just a huge clusterfuck, and that's what Aces and Eights has become. So I'm glad to see it dying. I thought maybe they were teasing some new recruits on at Bound for Glory. They had that little teasing backstage with Bully talking in the bathroom, but it led to nothing. So typical TNA, I guess. Moving on from TNA, there's been some big news in the NFL lately, and actually it was one of the questions sent in for my Ask the Admin feature, sent in by a guy named Xander, who, though most of you don't know, has been a huge help to me and my page, PWS, in not our early days, but probably around our 500 like days. He really took us under his wing and helped us getting likes and improving our content. He runs a page that I also work on called Wrestling Matters to Us. So if you have time, check it out on Facebook. It is definitely good, and of course, I'm on it too, so it's got to be great. So his question was about Richie Incognito. Should he be still in the NFL? What is my take on the whole racism issue? Now for me, I wasn't so concerned about the racism. There's racism everywhere. But when he went and said how he was going to kill his mother and slap his mother and shit like that, that's just a line you don't cross. Even as a joke. There's just some things you don't say to teammates, and that's one of them, especially in a sport like football where it's not an individual It's not an individual game. You really need the trust of your teammates. You need to rely on your teammates. And how can you trust someone that says that? So I really think his career is over. I don't see anyone taking a chance on him. Which actually, I was just reading on Bleacher Report, Jason Collins, who, as most of you remember, was the first person to come out as gay during his NBA career and has subsequently not been signed. Now, he wasn't the greatest of players, but there are a lot of teams that are really hurting for talent, and then we see him not being signed. What kind of message is that sending? The latest story, what I was reading on Bleacher Report about an hour ago, was about the Knicks needing help and how they haven't approached Collins. I think it's only a matter of time, especially, imagine the free publicity for that team. No offense to anyone of that persuasion, but it is big news for an active player to come out. So I expect to see him signed fairly shortly and in a big market so they can really capitalize on the angle with the publicity. That is really all I had today. There really wasn't a lot of news, so I'm just going to check our Ask the Admin feature and get you guys some questions. So I'm just waiting for it to load here. What do we got? Jeff Automir asked, if I had the chance to fight any NHL player, who would I fight and why? Great question, Jeff. As not a lot of you know, I am a huge Edmonton Oilers fan. Die hard for life, diapers to death. And the one player that I would definitely want to fight is Zach Kassian from the Vancouver Canucks, who this year took out Sam Gagner from the Edmonton Oilers with a vicious shot to the face with his stick. So that would be my choice, Jeff. I would definitely want to crush Zach Kassian. Moving on to my next one. I'll just scroll down to one of the early questions we got because we do have a lot of them, but I won't get to all of them today. Amanda Ginn asked, of all the Shield members, who is my favorite and why? So, for the Shield, I'm a huge fan of Roman Reigns, primarily because he played football right here in Edmonton. Funny story, I used to work at the McDonald's down by the stadium, and every day he would come in and order just a shit ton of food. And one day I finally, mustered up the courage to ask him. I swore he looked familiar, and I couldn't place it, and I just randomly brought up Umaga, and he looked kind of shocked, and he asked me if I was a wrestling fan, and I told him how I've been since a small kid, and I had just been going on my break, and we sat there and we kind of talked wrestling for about 15-20 minutes, and it was pretty great getting like a perspective from someone like him who he hadn't really broke out yet, but still, member of the Anoa'i family. It was a really interesting conversation. So Amanda, my answer is Roman Reigns. Christina Louise Lee asks, should Undertaker be in a non-wrestling role or an on-camera role as an ally of the corporation or to oppose the corporation? That is an interesting question because you know how Kane just came back and started being the big red accountant. I don't know if the Undertaker coming on TV in a on-camera role against the corporation really makes a lot of sense. Maybe towards the later stages of it, he could come back and be like why Kane, why why are you following my path? Because I did something similar with the corporate ministry back in the day. So it is an interesting idea, but something I don't think we'll see for many months. So I'm gonna answer one more question, and then that'll be it for today. Okay, Shane Bradbury asks, what do I think about Kane and the new corporate character? So as I touched on my Raw review, when I initially saw Kane, I laughed. I thought it was funny. You know, everyone has seen him without his mask, so it wasn't some big like kayfabe shock. But as I watched it, I really enjoyed it. I think that Kane, who actually is a really smart guy, if he's allowed to talk and be kind of like Glenn Jacobs and not the big red machine, it could be really well done. And I especially love the little things where, like, you know, his tie was red and black, tying in the whole Kane character. I thought that was fantastic and was more excited for that than any part of any else in that main event segment because it was so clunky and it was just awful. Hopefully they fix the shit and get it all going good for next week. But I don't want to run on too long, so that'll be it for today. Leave any comments down below. Please, 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 please critique and leave comments as I'm still very new at this. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, which is uh, at PWS, and then also like us on Facebook, which is still the same link, which is www.facebook.com/pro wrestling scoops forum. I'm trying to get that changed, but it's a slow process. But the Facebook name has changed to PWS Pro Wrestling Society. So please check us out. Also, any followers on here, make sure you check out my friend BLS's videos. He is the uncrowned prince of pro wrestling, and his NXT reviews are a can't miss. So check them out.